Hi and welcome. This is a mini lecture for the head. So the head, or the cranium in our Latin terminology, is made up of our facial bones and our nose bones, our eye sockets, and of course the skull itself, including the jawbone. So the reason why it's so hard is because it needs to protect our brain. Additionally, that the many different bones that make up our face allow for different expressions, so we can read facial signs and signals, so we can communicate without words. The musculature that makes up the head will obviously move these bones and allow for digestion of food, allow for our breathing, allow for our eye movement, and then, well, some very special people can actually move their ears. I'm not one of them. So obviously, ears, nose, mouth, and eyes are very important for sensory input. So the sensory input is then directly sent to our brain in very quick time, as the nerve endings, well, they don't have very far to go for our brain to process that sensory input. The brain itself and nervous system integration, obviously we have our brain, but the brain is multi-layered in a sense. So we have a certain part of our brain, or what we call the cerebrum, which is really good for our thought. And then a little bit deeper is our cerebellum, which will allow us to control movement and coordination. Will also assist us in certain functions, such as our development of feeling to emotion, and then emotion to expression, expression perhaps in thought, or expressing your emotions in order to relate to a situation, whether it's good or it's bad. We also have our brain stem, which is extremely important for all the basic elements of our body's automatic nervous system. This brain stem tends to be referred to as the reptilian brain, as all animals will have similar functions that relate to their brainstem, such as breathing, blood pressure, and certain reactivity emotions. The brain is also, the head, having all of its sensory organs as well, will allow for the intake of information. The brain allows it to be processed and then sends signals down through the spinal column. And then from the spinal column, all the nerves come off to allow us to use our hands and legs, for example. So the key important takeaway for the head is that it allows us to process information by encasing our brain in a very solid structure. It will allow for external stimuli to come into us to be then processed through our internal systems. One important feature that I don't want to forget is head posture. So how our head sits on our neck will dictate if we're falling forward in our posture or falling backwards or side to side, because the brain is always looking to keep our eye level even. So if we have a neck spasm and we're walking around like this, then our brain will want to bring us back to a straight position. So we will therefore adjust the rest of our body in order to keep our eyes in a straight line. So very important for posture as well. Thank you.